Acknowledging the past is critically important, and it's important to acknowledge the past leadership of the organisation, of the first people on the boards, leaders in different roles, and of course, our tumuaki, rongowetere and others.
I started in 1999 and I was very, very fortunate to meet and work with Dr. Rongowetere.
I learned flexibility, I learned a lot about making decisions based on a whole array of things rather than just what you can see. And so it taught me about using instinct.
Rongowetere asked me if I would join him and help him put a bit of a committee together, and we were going to look after some of the boys at the Te Awamutu College. And Ronga was a good businessman, and he ran it along on business lines. Well, you've only got to look at what we've got in the way of buildings and things, and we did this all out of nothing. We borrowed the money to get started here, and so we've had. It was never very easy, and we never got any money from the government. Only we got our EFTS funding for teaching. We got 5/8 of an EFT.
Personally, in my eyes, we're one of the greatest movers in education in New Zealand.
You relied on his word. When he said something will happen, he made it happen. We had a building company here, and we were looking at building 50 houses a year. Rongo came down and said, why don't you build 1,000 a year?
Rongowetere is a man who's a leader. Organisations can have managers, but if you've got nobody following you, you're not leading anybody.
A critical part of the leadership requirements at Te Wananga o Aotearoa were entrenched in me and my colleagues by many of the founders, including Dr. Rongowetere, Uncle Rewi Panapa and Auntie Ma, Boy Mangu, Joe Errol, Bucknan, and many, many others. The people of Te Wananga o Aotearoa today would like to acknowledge and honour the Waipa Kōkiri, Aotearoa Institute, Ngāti Maniapoto, all whānau and families, staff, students, community members who supported our movement between 1983 to 2004. Tēnā koutou katoa. As emerging leaders in Te Wananga o Aotearoa, we were mentored and we were taught within the Wananga by awesome leaders. And they fought very hard to gain the ground that we occupy today. Standing our ground is ensuring that we don't look to take a backward step. In essence, what that means is that we either stand for something or die for nothing. Through our history, we've had to make a stand. Frustrated by zero support from government for capital funding, we had no choice but to protest against government in 1998, which led to our Waitangi Tribunal Claim 718.
Our tumuaki then, Rongowetere, said we all have to go to demonstrate at Parliament. We went I roto i te aroha, mō tā tātou wānanga, me ngā iwi katoa I tautoko hia te kura nei. And we went down there and did our protest and working out the strategy to apply to the Waitangi Tribunal for hearing, and which came back, we were successful there. It came back as Waitangi 718.
Taiahaha, taiahaha. 2005 will go down in our history as a year that brought the organisation to its knees. Started by ACT MP Ken Shirley in Parliament, through a series of serious allegations about financial management, nepotism and questionable activity. The ensuing media storm whipped the public into a frenzy of righteous indignation. Again, we had to take a stand. The constant attacks of the 2005 election year resulted in a national uproar. The government appointed a Crown Manager who assumed financial delegations, and they also imposed a reduction in the size of our council. Te Wananga Aotearoa was again under siege. However, Te Wananga Aotearoa and Aotearoa Institute again made a stand through the submission of an additional Waitangi Tribunal claim 1298.
We could see that you guys were getting a bit of a hammering for no real reason. There was lots of political game playing, and political parties were using the Wananga as a bit of a political football. And, you know, there wasn't justification there. We'd been in the education sector long enough to know that they were just targeting the Wananga. So, you know, I realise now that how much Rongo and Bentham and the rest of the Wananga appreciated it. We came out in the press, we issued a press release saying that we supported the Wananga, that we supported Rongo, that we thought that, that you were doing good work and that there was a lot of value in the Wananga.
An OAG report from the Office of the Auditor General was commissioned by the Crown on the inquiry into certain aspects of Te Wananga o Aotearoa. The government was intent of this inquiry to validate their claims of mismanagement against Rongowetere, his whānau, and Te Wananga o Aotearoa. However, they were disappointed. More revealing and most satisfying, the report found no evidence of fraud on the part of Dr. Wetere or members of his whānau and Te Wananga o Aotearoa, and suggested that maybe Te Wananga o Aotearoa might even owe money to Dr. Wetere rather than the other way around. Dr. Wetere and his whānau and Te Wananga o Aotearoa had been cleared of the spurious and insulting claims made by members of Parliament at the start of the year. In December 2005, through the constant, heavy, unrelenting pressure led by the government, balanced by the continuing selfless acts that Dr. Wetere carried out for the benefit of Te Wananga o Aotearoa, Dr. Rongo Wetere retired in December 2005. Words cannot express the depth of our thanks and acknowledgement for the lifetime commitment of Dr. Rongo Wetere and the Wetere whānau in founding, establishing and growing Te Wananga o Aotearoa and what it is today. The best way we can repay Dr. Wetere and his whānau is to ensure that his dream of Te Wananga o Aotearoa is achieved, and his vision to ensure Te Wananga o Aotearoa remains a permanent part of the tertiary landscape for the many generations in the future.
In the 2005 to 2007, the leadership of Bentham here was huge.
We had a budget that couldn't be sustained with the volume of people that we had on staff at that time. So one of the big pieces of work was working out what was a sustainable staffing level. And so that became a challenge for us because it led us inevitably to restructuring the institution, which meant a large number of people, family members, friends, having to reapply for their jobs and compete for their jobs again in a state where we knew that we were going to be shrinking the total staff population.
It was a time where we had to restructure Te Wananga o Aotearoa, and they called that Te Anga Whakamua.
One of the challenges was just being to still be part of Te Wananga Aotearoa with the restructuring and everything that was happening at that time.
Nobody ever likes to go through that depth of political affliction.
So we saw it being hit on by politicians and hit on by the universities.
Me he kaha ngā kaihoi I runga I te waka, he pono. Koina te menui me pono te tangata ki ana mahi, me pono ngā kaihoi ki ngā hoi, ki ngā mahi, ki te kore, peke atu I te waka.
It wasn't a happy time, but what it was a time where someone had to step up.
Moving through the challenges of Te Anga Whakamua, which resulted in high redundancies of the organisation, also required us to ensure that we stayed in line with the mission, values and strategic vision of the organisation, to retrench and provide a sense of purpose and a sense of hope and security, that this organisation is not only critical to the past and the present, but it's critical for the future for Māori and all peoples of this world.
There were some very innovative and special things that occurred that kept us all together.
Building solidarity across the organisation was critical in building our confidence and our competence, but also who we are, why we're here, what we've done, and what we're going to do. We also invested heavily in our external relationships with ministers, government departments including TEC, Ministry of Education, NZQA, banks, suppliers, industry, and media.
One of the keys for us in the institution in the what I call the Bentham era of leadership was the ability for us to be Māori and to teach through our Māori culture rather than about our Māori culture.
There was a major initiative that came at that time, and it was brought about by the late Mike Watson. And that event that helped to keep us together, it was called the Wananga. It was an initiative that happened at the right time and under the theme of kotahitanga.
The Wananga and the Huia Kaupapa is building solidarity across the organisation. So having survived as an organisation, it was critically important to figure out why and how we are going to survive moving forward.
And so the institution took a very different philosophical position than previously. And so Māori worldview, Māori culture started to be inscribed in a lot of our areas that they weren't before, in our documents, in our policies, in our naming conventions, in the construction and design of our programs. And so we started to lens more powerfully through Māori worldview than we had ever before.
In essence, what we had to work through was to demonstrate and validate the credibility of who we are, why we're here, the programs that we offer, and the benefits both our students and the wider community receive. Community is at the centre of our hearts and minds at Te Wananga Aotearoa. Yes, Māori culture, but also for the benefit of all people in our community. And sustaining those relationships and establishing relationships at a local, regional and national level was a key part of that sustainability. This was the period when we established Te Kahui Amorangi, which is our national kaumātua iwi relationship body that enabled us to have regularity in terms of our reciprocal communications with our whānau and to be able to feed back into our organisation. We had to put all of our programs through the NZQA accreditation process again. We needed to have a whole regime of audits done by the external companies including TEC, NZQA and the Ministry of Ed. And through that, it gave reciprocal confidence between the government and us to enable us to move into a 3-year IIP, or an investment in a plan. Through that, it gave a sense of permanence, which is really what we're aiming to move from survival as part of a sustainable organisation to be a permanent part of the tertiary landscape in this country. And to also and always utilise the survival period to ensure that we never visit that place again. So why exist? Why work through survival? Why come together in solidarity? Why establish an organisation that is sustainable? And all of those areas come down to the question, what do we define as success? And in the first instance, we choose that we would define what success means to us. Because if we can define what success means to us, then we will own it. And when we own it, we will make sure we achieve it.
We increased our educational outcomes to a current graduation rate of 76%. We grounded ourselves in our kaupapa, put our heads up in the air and said we're proud to be a Māori institution, and we were very clear of that. We used our Māori culture and ways of knowing and being to guide us in our approaches, hence the immersion of the Wananga values and of kaupapa Wananga that says for the context that we work and live in, our kaupapa will be the bedrock upon which our survival is orchestrated.
Success is that our tauira are happy, our staff are happy.
I get a huge kick out of seeing our tauira graduate and seeing people come back to our institution and talk about how the experience of studying with our institution has affected their life. Ongoing, to me, that's success.
There was the survival years, and then there was the struggle, and in terms of that, the Te Wananga o Aotearoa has absolutely confirmed their position in the tertiary education landscape. And so success for Māori is success for them. What's good for Māori is good for non-Māori.
I think one of the true successes of this institution, though, is that it's inclusive. And we don't see excluding other ethnicities from our institution as a Māori way of being. So we've got some great initiatives coming up. Ako Wananga as a pedagogy and adult education is something the world has never seen that has the potential to take Indigenous values and worldviews and apply them in learning contexts. I think that's going to be a huge success factor for this Wananga and for the world. I think research moving forward that asks us to incorporate Indigenous ways of knowing opens up another opportunity for our people. I think the institution's move through Tai Wananga and bridging the gap between secondary and tertiary means we can have a seamless pathway for our people to experience another kind of education that's inviting. And I think the opportunity to work with other educators, particularly Māori in university and polytechnic settings, so that we can advance Indigenous causes is also helpful. I think tertiary education can learn a lot from Māori and Indigenous worldview about how to create successful human beings.
And for a person like me, it's not what about I give to the Wananga, it's what the Wananga allows me to do. And what it allows me to do is to be able to serve and serve our people, and to give selflessly to our people. Whether they want it or not, they're going to get it. And that if I could make a difference just to one, well, that's a difference well made.
Many of our staff, including myself, have been transformed within Te Wananga o Aotearoa. As a mobilised group of transformers within this organisation, we have the ability then to realise the opportunity of transforming our students. And through transforming ourselves and our students, we have an opportunity to transform the world.
Ko te aroha anō he wai, he pupu ake ana, he awa he mapuna mai ana, I roto I te whatu manawa. tai o pe, he tai ro